Hi guys, I'm here today to talk to you about our typology project. So just to start off with, let's explore this idea of typology. So what is typology? Typology is a way of categorizing and presenting similar types of subjects. It can often highlight their similarities and differences. It's an artistically presented collection of things in a broader sense. So for instance, this is a great example of typology. What do you guys see here, right? We're looking at images of clouds. You can, as you look at this, you might notice, okay, these are all clouds. It's natural, I think, to go from like square to square, rectangle to rectangle, comparing the shape and size. We notice that they're all clouds, but we see that they're all different. One thing that the artist has done to organize this space is he has presented everything as a grid. All of the pictures are the same size. There are varying amounts of background in them, but it seems like the artist has been purposeful about sort of what they've included, how it's been cropped. It feels kind of even on both sides, even left to right, top to bottom, it feels even. Even if the overall impression of the cloud is a small one, like say the second square feels like a very small cloud. The artist has chosen to crop the image so that the cloud is sort of centrally placed throughout the whole composition. We see even amounts of spacing around the clouds. We see even amounts of spacing from grid to grid. So there's a similarity in that sort of display. The more that I look at this, I also notice that all the clouds are kind of singular and isolated in the sky. I also noticed that the sky has different colors. So, you know, it's a great way, it's a great visual tool to kind of like get people to look at things that they might consider similar and really compare them. Typologies don't have to be photographic. They could be done in different mediums. So here's a typology of different types of gems done in watercolor. It's a more free-form, I guess, approach to how to put this on the page. Some artists go with a grid method. This is, you know, more free-form. I don't know. I think this affects the way that the viewer reads it. I think that there's so much about like this last image and the presentation of it that really makes you sort of compare, you know, one piece to the next. This could, you know, be a call to comparison. How can you help but compare the shape and color? But it could also be, you know, seen as a collection of things on a page in a space. Let's see. Here is another typology of snowflakes. So this is a microscopic view of snowflakes. Every snowflake, they say, is different. So here is what they look like under a microscope. Again, like one of the things that you're going to see over and over in typology is like it adopts some of the forms of scientific photography. I would say that these were taken for, you know, scientific purposes. Look, they're even numbered, you know, the snowflakes are numbered. Typology, you know, the intention, right, of this artist is something very different than maybe the intention of this artist who did this for a scientific magazine versus for showing in a gallery. But you can see that the artist has adopted some of the, like, the style of presenting something in a very scientific way. Look how, in this case, you know, the cropping is very similar, right? You know, we see that grid composition. We see, you know, generally the same color. You know, you're being asked to compare, you know, the intricate geometric patterns of each snowflake. So they really reduced all of the other things that you could potentially compare, like, for instance, placement within the square. Here is a typology of rubber balls. You know, if you have a collection of things, you know, no matter what that collection is, might be an interesting opportunity to make a typology. Maybe you've got a great collection of marbles or model cars or something. Here again, you know, the artist has sort of selected a uniform style, I'm sorry, a kind of uniform size of the rubber ball. And they have created a backdrop that's very similar. We see kind of the ground plane at the same level. We see the sort of modeled fabric in the background consistently. I do see some differences in color, depending on the color of the ball, maybe, or the lighting that the artist used. Some of these backgrounds appear warmer or cooler. Can see that the artist has also you know, kept the size of the photographs consistent. I don't know, to me, like, there's something like inherently funny about an image like this, because it takes on so much of that scientific language. Like, we were looking at the snowflakes, right? Like that scientific magazine sort of aesthetic, you know, of a similarity. But it's like they're comparing something that's completely goofy here, like a rubber ball. So, you know, it makes me look at the rubber ball in a way that I probably never would if I was considering it in a different context. Sorry, this one is blurry. This is a typology of squirrel paintings. Typology of leaves. Typology of different beverages. I like this one too, because, like, I mean, I think in some ways the artist has had to be, well, the artist has had to be very reductive. They're kind of taking away a lot of background noise. They're presenting everything on this black background. Again, it's got the similar, you know, even though the glasses are probably different sizes, like the circle sort of in the center of each square is about the same size. They've, you know, made that choice, but they've probably had to actually take a lot more photographs of drinks than what are included here, because, you know, while they wanted those visual similarities, you know, same size circle, the black background, evenly cropped on all sides, they wanted also, you know, I'm sure, for these things to look different to our eyes. So they wanted the foamy beverage versus the tea bag versus the, you know, the can of soda, the ice cubes, you know, how many different textures and colors might you come up with, you know. That seems like an interesting part of this challenge in terms of being a designer and working through a problem like typology. You know, how do you make decisions about what needs to be similar, and how do you make decisions about what needs to be different to make something like visually engaging? Sorry, that one was a little blurry, so we'll go on to the next. Again, you know, here is a typology like you might see in a scientific magazine. This might be about, you know, different species of bugs here. You know, this idea of comparison, right? You might look at a whole different group of bugs to see how they're similar and how they're different. Again, this is like really scientific, like the language of science. So it's interesting to see that artists are adopting this sort of language and aesthetic for different purposes. I thought that this was kind of cool. It's kind of a typology. You know, it's got, again, this idea of something scientific. It's got the map and the sort of key to place things. These are all of the famous monsters, like cryptozoic kind of monsters that are from different regions. sort of a typology with a key. Here's another typology. These are prints of sea life, so different types of sea life. Again, the arrangement here, this could be, you know, this feels like a typology when you look at it, but it's also kind of artfully arranged, almost like landscape-like. These are from Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks. He was one of the first people to study anatomy, and he often did, you know, repeated studies like this. This was, of course, a long time before the invention of photography, so typologies like this in scientific journals would be done by hand. This was his personal notebook, so again, he was one of the first people to really study anatomy in this way. Some more bugs, spiders. Sorry to creep you out, people, if you're not a fan of spiders, but another great example, different types of spiders. This one is more fantastical. This artist does really pictures of fish. They take on a little bit more of a sort of surreal character. These are, again, a good example of a typology that's not photographic. This is more of an illustration typology. What I would like you guys to do today is to research typology. There is a good link here to the typologist Tumblr, and this person just really collects different typologies. In your sketchbook, I want you to write a couple things. So what sort of typology project might you like to create? And thinking about this, you might think, you know, do I have any collections, you know, significant collections of things? Or could I collect any specific things from maybe like a family member? You might borrow something. Also, I want you to look, what do you notice about, we talked a little bit here about the presentation of some of these works, like what specific decisions has the artist made about how the images are presented to you? I want you to think, how might you need to be considerate and intentional in presenting your series? Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy your research. This page is pretty fascinating, and I can't wait to talk to you about your typology ideas.